So, have you ever just looked around your place and felt, well, completely swamped? You know, that feeling of being surrounded by just stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The overflowing closet, maybe that junk drawer that seems to defy physics.
Exactly. Or the garage you can barely squeeze into. It's this constant low-level battle against clutter, isn't it?
It really is. We collect things, we find places to stash them,
Mm.
and then, we spend so much mental energy just managing it all. It's exhausting.
Totally. But what if that whole struggle wasn't just about, like, needing better organizing bins? What if it was something deeper?
Hmm. Now, that's an interesting question.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We're exploring the world of Marie Kondo and her global phenomenon, the KonMari method. You probably remember it exploding with her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
It felt like everyone was suddenly asking if their socks spark joy.
Right. It really struck a chord. But our mission today, it goes way beyond just, folding techniques or how to sort your papers. We're asking a pretty big question here. Is decluttering just a practical chore? Or could it actually be a deeply spiritual act?
And for Kondo, the answer seems to be a resounding yes to the spiritual side.
Yeah.
It all centers on this deceptively simple idea, sparking joy.
Exactly. That's the core.
Indeed. So in this deep dive, we're deliberately going to look past let's say, the surface level organizing tips.
Mm.
We really want to unpack how the KonMari approach can be seen as this practical path to mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
and also as an exercise in gratitude, and maybe most profoundly, a practice in letting go.
Letting go. That's a big one.
It is. We'll explore how intentionally curating our outer world, our homes, our spaces might actually reflect and maybe even help create the clarity and peace we're often searching for inside.
And we'll be drawing honestly, some really fascinating parallels from different philosophies and spiritual traditions along the way, things you might not expect to connect with tidying.
Right. So get ready to maybe rethink everything you thought you knew about cleaning out your closet. It might be more profound than you think.
The KonMari method, a personal standard of joy.
Okay, so let's really get into this. This idea of a personal standard of joy. It's the absolute heart of the KonMari method, isn't it? But it's also kind of radical when you stop and think about it.
It really is, because the core principle Kondo puts forward is that the only reason to keep something isn't, how useful it is or how much it cost or even if it was a gift you feel guilty about.
Right. None of that matters first.
Exactly. The first and most important question is, does it spark joy? And she means that quite literally. You have to physically hold each item.
Yeah, the physical touch is key. She emphasizes that.
You hold it and you tune in. How do you feel? Is there a little lift, a sense of lightness, maybe excitement, or just simple delight?
It's so incredibly personal, isn't it? Almost visceral. It bypasses the logical brain, the part that says, oh, but I might need this someday.
Precisely. It's not about following some external rule book someone else wrote. It's about your internal response. Your feeling is the ultimate authority.
Which is revolutionary because we're so often guided by external stuff, right?
Yeah.
What society says is valuable, what our parents kept, what ads tell us we need.
Exactly. Kondo actually contrasts her method specifically against just automatically following criteria from others based on their know-how. She stresses that only you can know what kind of environment truly makes you happy. Picking and choosing objects, she says, is extremely personal. It's a direct appeal to your own lived, subjective experience. No one else gets a vote on what sparks joy for you.
That really connects with something. You remember that idea of inner nature from the Taoist thinking, like in the Tao of Pooh?
Oh, absolutely. That sense that everything has its own essential quality, its own way of being.
Yeah, and that we humans get easily led astray because our brain can be fooled. We rationalize, we overthink, we listen to shoulds.
Right. How many times have you kept something out of obligation or fear or just inertia, even though your gut feeling was kind of, meh?
Oh, constantly. Just in case is my middle name sometimes.
Kondo's method, by demanding that immediate physical felt response, that spark, it actively trains you to bypass those rationalizations. It's like learning to trust your gut again.
Trusting your inner nature, maybe. Discerning what genuinely feels right for you, not just what seems logical or what you've been told is useful.
Exactly. It's reconnecting with an intrinsic wisdom. You pick it up, you feel it, and you bypass the mental chatter of, but I might need it, or it was expensive, or Aunt Mildred gave it to me.
Right. That guilt factor is huge.
Huge. But if it doesn't spark joy now, its past doesn't matter in the same way. You're tapping into something more authentic to who you are today.
And this focus on authentic feeling, this intuitive connection, it helps explain her pretty strong stance on storage, doesn't it? Which
Yeah.
can feel a bit challenging.
Yes. Let's talk about storage, because this is where Kondo really pushes back against conventional wisdom.
Okay, get this. She basically says that most storage solutions are really just prisons within which to bury possessions that spark no joy. Prisons. That's quite a statement.
It is provocative, isn't it? We invest so much time and money in shelves, bins, boxes, even off-site storage units.
We do. We pride ourselves on being organized with our storage.
But Kondo's point is, are we organizing things we love and use, or are we just creating nicer-looking hiding places for things we don't actually want or need? Is the storage enabling the clutter?
Oof, that hits a nerve. So she's saying more storage isn't the answer.
Not in itself, no. For her, effective storage comes after the joy check. It's about extreme intentionality. Once you've decided what truly sparks joy, then you designate a specific spot for every single one of those items.
A home for everything you keep.
A home for everything. And she argues that when you commit to this, really commit, it does more than just organize. It can actually prevent you from accumulating more stuff you don't need. It might even lead to a decrease in your overall stock on hand, as she puts it.
How does that work? Just having a designated spot stops you buying things.
Think about it. If everything you own has a designated home, and those homes are full with things you love, you become much more conscious about bringing something new in. You have to ask, do I love this enough to make space for it? Where will it live?
Okay. So it forces a conscious decision before acquiring, rather than just finding a place to cram it later.
Exactly. It flips the script. We often buy because we see empty space or think we need options. Kondo forces us to confront the abundance we already have and be incredibly selective about adding to it.
And this idea, this move towards really conscious consumption, only keeping and buying what genuinely sparks joy, feels like it pushes back against something bigger, doesn't it?
You mean like our consumer culture?
Yeah. There's that critique, like in Less is More,
Yeah.
that our economic system is sort of built on creating a feeling of scarcity, right? That we always need more to be happy or complete.
Right, this idea of artificial scarcity. That increased productivity doesn't lead to more freedom or abundance for everyone, but just new things to feel like we lack.
Exactly. We're constantly chasing the next thing. But Kondo's method, by making you define your own sufficiency based on personal joy, it feels like a quiet way to step off that treadmill.
It really does. It's a subtle but potentially profound act of defiance against that cycle of never enough. You're defining enough based on your internal feeling, not external pressure or comparison.
So it's not explicitly anti-capitalist, maybe, but the result is that you consume less and appreciate more.
That certainly seems to be a common outcome. It shifts the focus inward. You stop comparing your stuff to your neighbors or what's in magazines. You're just asking, does this bring me joy?
And then once you've gone through that whole intense process and you only have things that spark joy, the idea of where you keep them, it transforms, doesn't it? She talks about storage becoming a private paradise.
Yes. This is such a beautiful concept. After the hard work, your storage spaces, closets, drawers, cabinets aren't just functional. They become these little personal sanctuaries.
She actually says you can decorate them, right?
Yeah.
Put posters or photos inside your closet.
Absolutely. Decorate your closet with anything, whether private or not. Use posters, photos, ornaments, whatever you like. There are no limits. Personalize it to the fullest.
Wow. So it's not just about neatness. It's about making even the hidden spaces beautiful and personal.
It's about crafting an environment, even in the unseen corners, that actively nourishes you, that reflects your inner self, and brings you peace and delight every time you interact with it. It's like creating little pockets of joy throughout your home.
That really elevates the idea of storage. It's not just utilitarian anymore.
Not at all. And this idea of creating a personalized, joyful sanctuary within your physical space, it has deep echoes in spiritual traditions. It's not just aesthetics. It's about building an environment that supports your soul.
How so? What kind of echoes?
Well, think about the concept of the interior castle, described by Saint Teresa of Avila. She saw the soul as this incredible castle made of diamond or crystal, filled with many rooms.
Right, a metaphor for the inner life.
Exactly. A sacred inner space, a paradise where, as she put it, God takes delight. Kondo's private paradise in your closet, while obviously more literal, touches on a similar principle, that our physical spaces can, and maybe should, mirror that inner sanctuary.
So organizing your drawers becomes a way of tending to your inner castle.
In a way, yes. It reflects this profound potential for our inner and outer worlds to connect, to mirror each other. When you create external order and joy, it can genuinely foster internal clarity and peace. They build on each other.
That's a much bigger idea than just having tidy shelves. It's like spiritual architecture, building a life where the inside and outside are in harmony.
Precisely. And that leads us beautifully into thinking about the process itself as a form of mindfulness.
Decluttering is mindfulness and presence.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the what keeping only joy-sparking items and the where creating a private paradise. But what about the how? How does the act of tidying itself become, well, mindful?
This is where it gets really interesting because the core action of the KonMari method, physically handling each object one by one and asking, does this spark joy, is inherently a mindfulness practice.
How do you mean? Because you have to pay attention.
Exactly. It forces you into the present moment. You can't do it mindlessly. You have to engage directly, consciously with the physical world, with this one object right now.
Instead of just sorting things on autopilot or thinking about your grocery list while you fold laundry.
Right. It demands your full attention, item by item, and this deliberate, tactile engagement. It's a powerful anchor to the present. It connects really well with teachings about presence like Eckhart Tolle's idea that only the present moment can make us free.
Ah, the power of now, being fully here.
Yes. Tolle talks about awakening being the realization of presence. He even suggests practices like feeling the animating presence within your body to connect with the now, holding an object, truly feeling its texture, its weight, the feeling it evokes in you that brings you right back to your senses, right back to the present.
So it's like a physical meditation. Instead of focusing on breath, you focus on a sweater.
In essence, yes. It serves a similar function. Think about using the breath as home base in meditation, a place of full presence like they talk about in radical acceptance. Each object you pick up in the KonMari method becomes a temporary home base for your awareness.
That makes sense. It pulls you out of your head, away from the endless mental chatter.
It really can. You know how sometimes you're rummaging through a drawer and suddenly you're lost in worrying about tomorrow or replaying yesterday?
All the time, the mind just wanders off.
Well, this focused attention on the object in your hands can interrupt that. It can break the loop. It reminds me of Michael Singer's work in The Untethered Soul, talking about that incessant chatter of the mind.
Right, the voice in your head.
Singer suggests stepping back, observing your thoughts objectively, realizing they're just thoughts, not you. The physical act of tidying with this kind of deep intention can serve as a similar anchor. It quiets the noise.
So you're creating physical space in your home, but also mental space in your head.
That's a great way to put it. You're cultivating inner stillness through outer action. It's not just about organizing stuff. It's organizing your mind, decluttering your mental landscape too.
Which brings us back to that core idea we touched on, the outer world reflecting the inner world. If tidying calms the mind, then the resulting tidy space must reflect that inner calm.
Absolutely. Many spiritual traditions emphasize this connection. Eckhart Tolle, again in A New Earth, puts it very directly. The foundation for a new earth is a new heaven, the awakened consciousness. The earth's external reality is only its outer reflection.
Wow. So our messy house could literally be an outer reflection of a messy mind, and a tidy, intentional home reflects an awakened consciousness.
That's the implication, yes. Our external environment often acts as a surprisingly accurate mirror for our internal state. Chaos outside can signal chaos inside. Serenity outside can reflect, or even help cultivate serenity inside. The two are deeply linked.
Okay, and what about how we approach the clutter? Normally, we might react with frustration, maybe avoidance. Procrastination's a big one for me.
We react automatically, often unconsciously.
But the KonMari method seems to demand a different kind of engagement, right? A conscious response instead of a reaction.
It absolutely does. Think about it like this. John Kabat-Zinn, talking about mindfulness and difficult emotions like anger and wherever you go, there you are, doesn't suggest suppressing it. He talks about bringing awareness to it.
Right, to sort of cook the anger, digest it.
Exactly. You engage with it consciously, transforming your relationship to it. The KonMari method offers a similar path for our relationship with possessions and clutter. Instead of automatically reacting with stress or guilt or overwhelm,
You consciously engage. You pick it up, you feel it, you decide.
yes, you make deliberate, thoughtful choices. You move, as you said, from an automatic reacting to a conscious responding. You're responding to your environment, your things, and ultimately, your own inner needs and feelings.
That feels empowering. Like taking back control not just over your stuff, but over your internal state.
It is empowering. That shift from reactivity to conscious response is a hallmark of mindfulness and spiritual growth. You're taking active responsibility for your inner world by intentionally shaping your outer world. It's a quiet but powerful revolution happening right there with your belongings.
A revolution in the living room. I like that. But it's not always easy, is it? That leads us to the really tough part. Letting go.
The spiritual practice of letting go and detachment.
Okay, so we've decided what sparks joy. Now comes the hard part for many people, myself included, actually getting rid of the things that don't. This act of discarding, it can feel surprisingly emotional, can it? Almost like a small grief or a tiny death.
It absolutely can. Letting go is rarely easy, especially when objects are tied to memories, identities, or even just the habit of having them around. And this is where the KonMari method touches on another profound spiritual principle: detachment.
Detachment, that sounds serious.
Well, it's a core concept in many traditions. Think about the mystics, like St. John of the Cross and Dark Night of the Soul. He talks about the soul needing to undergo a kind of death to its attachments.
How does he describe that?
He speaks of the soul going forth from itself and from all things, and in dying to them all by means of true mortification in order to find a deeper life of love with God. It's about the negation of self and attachment to things.
Wow, okay. That's intense.
Yeah.
Tidying my closet isn't quite that dramatic, hopefully.
No, probably not. But the principle has resonance. While KonMari is much lighter, it still involves kind of mortification, a putting to death of our attachments to material things that no longer serve our joy. It's a conscious severing of those ties.
A micro-death of attachment.
A micro-death, exactly. And St. John talks about this process involving an arid and dark night, where worldly desires, concupiscence, he calls it, are restrained, where the soul cannot feed upon any pleasure or sweetness of sense.
Okay. How does that connect to getting rid of an old t-shirt?
Well, think about why we keep things that don't spark joy. Often it's habit, or a fleeting pleasure, or maybe a sense of security they falsely provide. It's kind of sensory or emotional feeding.
Right, like comfort food, but with objects.
Precisely. Letting go requires us to curb that habitual desire, to experience a kind of spiritual sobriety, as the text suggests. It might feel a bit arid or uncomfortable at first, letting go of that familiar sweetness.
But the promise is peace.
Yes. The text says this process leads to profound tranquility and peace, because where those desires reign not, there is no disturbance. By letting go of the external things we cling to, we cultivate contentment from within. We stop seeking peace through accumulation.
That makes sense. And the immediate result of letting go is space. Physical space.
Yes, but not just physical space, right? You feel it mentally and emotionally, too. It's like a weight lifts.
Definitely. A sense of freedom.
And that freedom is directly linked to detachment. Deepak Chopra talks about this in relation to achieving goals. He defines intent as desire without attachment to the outcome.
Desire without attachment. How does that apply to stuff?
Chopra explains that attachment locks you into rigidity. You lose fluidity and creativity. When we cling to possessions, I might need it, it was expensive, it represents who I was, we become rigid.
Stuck.
Exactly. Kondo encourages a detached intention. Appreciate the item, thank it for its service, if it served one, and if it no longer sparks joy, release it without attachment to its past or potential future. Let it go freely.
That sounds like the free will, not enslaved by desires, the one that brings content, peace, rest, and blessedness, mentioned in Theologia Germanica, right?
Precisely that idea. It's liberating your energy, your attention, your creativity from being bogged down by things you don't truly love or need now.
There's also that line from C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity that seems relevant here, about not trying to keep a thrill going.
Oh, yes. That's a brilliant connection. What does he say again?
Something like, let the thrill go, let it die away. Go on through that period of death into the quieter interest and happiness that follow, and you will find you are living in a world of new thrills all the time.
That applies so perfectly to possessions. We cling to the initial thrill of a purchase, or the nostalgic thrill of a memory attached to an object, long after the actual joy has faded.
Yeah, we try to keep that feeling alive through the object, even when it's gone.
Lewis suggests, and Kondo implies, that you have to let that old thrill die. Go through the discomfort of letting go. And what follows isn't emptiness, but a quieter interest in happiness, and an openness to new thrills.
So letting go of the old sweater that no longer sparks joy actually opens you up to appreciating the things you do love more, or to finding new joys.
Exactly. It prevents you from getting stuck, bored, or disillusioned, clinging to the past. It keeps life dynamic and fresh. It's a continuous shedding of the old to embrace the new with genuine enthusiasm.
This whole process really does sound like a transformation then, like shedding an old skin.
It really is. Remember that metaphor of the silkworm from Catherine of Siena?
Vaguely, it has to die to become a butterfly.
Yes. It has to die to its old self, renounce self-love, self-will, attachments to earthly things to emerge as the little white butterfly.
Okay, so letting go of my clutter isn't quite achieving sainthood, but
Perhaps not. But the metaphor holds. The death of attachment to possessions, even in this small way, can lead to a new, lighter life. It's emerging from that heavy cocoon of stuff and the identity tied to it.
into something freer, more vibrant, maybe more like your true self.
Exactly. A state where your true essence has room to breathe, maybe even take flight.
Cultivating gratitude and redefining our relationship with things.
Now, something often associated with KonMari, even if it wasn't heavily detailed in the core text we looked at, is this idea of thanking items before you discard them. Is that right?
Yes, that's become a very well-known part of the practice. While the core principle is spark joy, the process often includes acknowledging the item's service and expressing gratitude before letting it go.
It sounds a bit unusual, maybe, thanking an old pair of socks.
It might feel strange at first, but it transforms the act of discarding from something potentially negative or wasteful into something respectful and mindful. It reframes it.
How so?
Well, instead of just tossing it with the feeling of, finally rid of this, you pause. You acknowledge its role. Maybe those socks kept your feet warm for years. Maybe that book taught you something important. Thanking it closes that chapter gracefully.
So it fosters gratitude, even for things you're getting rid of.
Exactly. And this resonates deeply with spiritual practices worldwide. Think of Black Elk's simple but powerful exclamation, ha ho, thanks. Just expressing gratitude for existence, for the gifts of life.
Or William James talking about the humble and grateful mind that can find reasons to be thankful even in simple everyday things.
Right. Jill suggests that this attitude of gratitude can transform our whole perception of the world. It turns ordinary interactions, even with inanimate objects, into moments of connection and spiritual awareness.
So thanking the sweater isn't about thinking the sweater has feelings, necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's more about cultivating an attitude of gratitude within yourself, recognizing the value, the purpose, the joy something did bring, even if its time with you is over. It honors the relationship you had with that object, however brief.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's about my mindset, not the objects. And this changes how you relate to your stuff overall, doesn't it?
Profoundly. It encourages a deeper, more intentional relationship. You stop seeing belongings as just disposable commodities you acquire and discard mindlessly.
They become more like participants in your life, each with a little story or a purpose or that stark.
Yes, exactly. And this aligns with that idea from William James again about connecting with the power that made things as they are, seeing the inherent nature and value in things.
How does that connect?
When you appreciate things in this way, James suggests, fear and egotism tend to fall away. You see the world with more equanimity, more appreciation. It moves you from a purely transactional relationship, what can this do for me, to a more reverent one.
Reverence for a frying pan.
Well, maybe appreciation is a better word. Appreciation for its function, its materials, the way it serves you. It's about seeing the value beyond just the price tag or its immediate utility.
And this conscious choosing, this gratitude, it must impact how you think about bringing new things into your home, too.
Oh, absolutely. It naturally leads to more mindful consumption. You become much more selective. Does this potential new item really spark joy? Will I truly value it? Do I have a place for it?
It connects to that idea of economy and grace, maybe, like using resources wisely, valuing what you have, not just accumulating endlessly.
Precisely. It cultivates a kind of ethical engagement with the material world. You become more of a steward of your possessions rather than just a consumer. It's a quiet pushback against throwaway culture.
Fostering respect for objects, maybe even for the resources and energy that went into making them.
Exactly. It's a deeper respect born from conscious choice and genuine gratitude, which in turn seems to tie into how we see ourselves in relation to our things.
Inner self and external identity beyond the egoic self.
Okay, let's talk about identity. Because, let's be honest, a lot of us derive a sense of who we are from our stuff, right?
Oh, definitely. Consciously or unconsciously.
Our car, our clothes, the books on our shelves, the brands we buy. It all sends signals about who we are or who we want to be. Our possessions become part of our identity narrative.
They really do. And the KonMari method challenges this head on. When you start letting go of things, especially things you thought defined you, it can feel like you're losing parts of yourself.
Yeah, it can be unsettling. If I get rid of all my intellectual books, am I still intellectual?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Exactly. And this is where someone like Eckhart Tolle's perspective is so insightful. He talks about the egoic self.
What did he mean by that?
He explains how our basic sense of I attracts other thoughts and identifies with them. Our gender, our job, our nationality, our beliefs, and yes, our possessions. All these identifications build up a mental construct, the ego.
So the ego isn't just about being arrogant, it's this whole collection of identification.
Right, it's the superficial thought-based self. Tolle argues that by consciously letting go of possessions, disidentifying with them, you start to loosen the ego's grip.
How does that work?
As you release the external markers, the real I, your deeper authentic self, has space to emerge. It comes from a place beyond thought, beyond identification. Letting go of stuff becomes an act of letting go of the false, egoic self.
Wow, so decluttering is actually a tool for uncovering your true self.
It can be, yes.
Yeah.
It's a practical way to practice disidentification. You realize you are not your possessions. Your worth, your identity isn't dependent on them.
So choosing what sparks joy isn't just about the object. It's an act of defining who you really are, separate from the stuff.
Precisely. Think about that line from Conversations with God. It suggests our relationships with everything, including things, are about figuring out what we require or desire now to grow, to be who we want to be.
Okay, so my relationship with my clutter is about my growth.
In this view, yes. Decluttering becomes this active process of creating who you are. Each decision keep or discard is a small declaration. This reflects who I am choosing to be now. This does not.
It's like sculpting your identity by curating your environment.
Beautifully put. You're consciously aligning your outer world with your authentic inner self, shedding what no longer serves that vision of who you want to become.
And this links back to that feeling we discussed, the cluttered home reflecting a scattered mind. That feeling of being pulled in too many directions by your stuff.
It does. When your space is chaotic, overflowing, lacking intention, it often mirrors an internal state of being scattered, unfocused, maybe overwhelmed.
I definitely feel that connection. When my desk is a disaster, my thoughts feel like a disaster.
It's a common experience. And think about figures like Dorothy Day, who went through this transformation from being, as described in The Road to Character, a scattered person to a centered one.
How did she do that? Wasn't it through her work and faith?
Yes, her context was finding purpose through service and community. But the underlying principle is similar. Moving towards a centered self often involves shedding distractions, finding focus, and aligning your life with a core purpose.
So clearing external clutter could be one way to help find that internal center.
It can certainly contribute. Reducing the external noise and demands on your attention frees up mental energy. A clear, intentional space supports a clearer, more focused mind. It reduces that feeling of being scattered.
Because maybe that external chaos is reflecting an internal conflict.
That's a very real possibility. William James wrote about this internal battleground, didn't he? Between two deadly, hostile selves, one actual, the other ideal.
The person we are versus the person we feel we should be or want to be.
Exactly. And our relationship with possessions often plays out right on that battleground. Part of us wants the minimalist, serene ideal. Another part clings to the actual accumulation and justifications.
I feel seen.
Haha. Well, the KonMari method, with its unwavering focus on your personal standard of joy, acts as a powerful tool to reconcile that conflict. By consistently making choices that align with your ideal, what truly sparks joy, you start to bridge the gap between the actual and the ideal.
You're making the actual reflect the ideal, one object at a time.
Precisely. You're bringing coherence and integration to that internal battleground by making conscious choices in the external world. It's a practical, tangible path towards self-integration right there in your own home.
It's really quite profound when you look at it that way. Not just tidying, but self-creation. Outro.
Wow.
So we've really journeyed deep today, haven't we? Starting with, just messy closets and ending up, well, talking about the soul. It seems Marie Kondo's seemingly simple method really does evolve into something quite spiritual.
It really does. We've seen how sparking joy goes far beyond just liking something. It becomes this gateway to practicing mindfulness in a very real, tactile way.
Yeah, and cultivating gratitude, even for things we're letting go of. And embracing that liberation, that freedom that comes from detachment.
And ultimately, using the whole process to clarify who we are, both inwardly and how we express that outwardly. It brings the inner and outer worlds into closer alignment.
So the big insight from this deep dive, I think, is that curating our physical space, really choosing what belongs, letting go of what doesn't, it's this powerful, tangible metaphor for curating our lives.
Exactly. It's a metaphor we can live out every single day. It's not just about organizing. It's about aligning ourselves with what truly resonates, what genuinely brings us alive on the deepest level.
Fostering that harmony between who we feel we are inside and how we actually live in the world, creating a space and maybe a life that supports our true essence.
Well said. It's about consciously creating that supportive environment.
So, as we wrap up, we want to leave you, our listener, with a thought to maybe chew on. Reflecting on that idea that knowledge is most valuable when understood and applied.
The application is key.
What does the state of your immediate surroundings right now honestly tell you about the state of your inner world? No judgment, just observation.
And based on that observation, what might you choose to keep or perhaps let go of starting today? Not just objects, perhaps, but maybe even habits or thoughts. What needs to change to truly spark joy in your life?
How can you begin creating not just a tidier home, but a more tranquil, more authentic, and ultimately a more liberated self? Something to think about.